Share this to my group. Okay. So there's a few things that that have been in my sphere, in my headspace as of late that I want to get on here and jam about. Maybe I should actually take some notes real quick about like what those things are so that I make sure that I address them. Because this is like, I don't know, like this isn't really a very like planned, not that any of my live streams are quote unquote planned. I mean, sometimes they are. Like sometimes, I definitely have a whole like, like very structured intention and notes. And I mean, especially those I would say are my master classes. But I mean, this is just like, I'm just feeling the desire to get on here and share just what's on my heart and what's coming to light, in my field and in my sphere that I'm seeing within myself, that I'm seeing also in my clients, and, and also what's going on in the astroscape that I just want to come on and share with you guys, and also, check in with how you guys are feeling with all of that. So, and I do have, some new things that are popping off in my world behind the scenes that, not quite ready, I guess, to share. We'll see, as things flow. So, yeah. So, let me get on here. I want to see. All right. So let's actually look at what's happening right now. Ooh. I just pulled up the chart for the moment. So before I even go into that, let me just introduce myself to, those of you who are either new to my world, and also to those of you who maybe aren't totally new to my world, but you either want to know a little bit more, or you're not that clear about who I am and what it is that I do, what I stand for, what my business is about, what my legacy is about, what my brand is about, what my message is, and how it is that I actually support my community. So my name is Dr. Stephanie Pierre. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine. So my background, one of my backgrounds, let me do this because this is always what happens when I get on the lives. Then I get all of these like messages. It's like, I don't know, it's a whole thing. So, so one of my backgrounds is being a doctor of Oriental medicine, an acupuncture physician, as well as 5-element theory. So, this is actually something that I spoke about, I think in like a previous live stream where I was talking about the many different lenses of which I view the world through, because I am a multi-disciplined artist. And that is something that has been very, very challenging for me, especially as it pertains to, sharing with people like what it is that I do and how I do it. Hey, what's up, Amy? Because I have so many different backgrounds. I have so many different things that, not that I just can do, but that I'm really good at, and that I have a lot of life experience. For those of you who are HD savvy or HD, whatever term I guess you would call that, I have the 4-6 profile, which means that my first 30 years of life, I experienced so much more than what the average person does. Anybody who is a 4-6 in here, or even a lot of 6 lines also experience this. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know, because I'm sure that you'll be able to resonate with this. The first 30 years of your life were very, very challenging. It's like you lived lifetimes upon lifetimes, more than what most people do. And so because of that, the things that I experienced the very first 30 years of my life, I have so much that I can share from that perspective, because I've already been through it. Like, so for example, I am 37 years old and I already have 3 children. I've been married for over 20 years now. Or actually, that's not true. How long? We got married in, 2007. So, is that right? Did I get married in 2007? I think so. Yeah, so I've been married for, I believe, 17 years, and we've been together for over 20 years. So, and being a doctor of Oriental medicine, and, I've also, had a singing career, was a professional singer as growing up. So I have those 2 backgrounds that I bring to the table. And these are the kinds of, people that I really enjoy working with, actually, are artists and entrepreneurs. So, and in my, I I grew up visiting my father in prison, and my a lot to go. I mean, I could really go all into that story. My father being, a drug dealer, a very successful until his arrest, drug dealer, and you can imagine, like, if you've ever seen that movie with Johnny Depp, Blow, that was my childhood prior to, and as well, because I think they go into that where he, gets in prison. So that was my childhood. I spent 10 years visiting my father in prison. And so all of these things, definitely, had an influence and an impact upon my life, but also where I hold a lot of compassion for others who have been in very deep traumatic, I was also in an abusive relationship for many years, and went through, infidelity and drug abuse and all sorts of things. So, I mean, there's a lot, right? Like, that I bring to the table. And so that is something that has been very challenging for me when, to share with people, oh, like, well, who can you help? And it's like, and in a very egotistical way, and I fully own that, like, who can't I help? Because I feel like, and that is what I feel like for those of us who are multidisciplined, right? We have so many different areas of life. And this is actually something that I speak a lot about, in my astrological practice, because I'm also a practicing astrological magician. So, yeah. And so, in the Gayat al-Hakim, which is the premier astrological grimoire, the Picatrix, it's the definition of a magician is the goal of the wise. And one of the tenets in there is actually to be a magician means that you have to be very well versed in all facets of life. And so multidisciplined, meaning where you're very well versed in health, you're very well versed in business, you're very well versed in the art of relationships, you're very well versed in the art of war, you're very well versed in language, in family dynamics, in all of the different aspects of life. And so I guess perhaps that might be maybe the best way for me to, as including that definition of actually what a magician is, or rather what the goal, of the magician actually is to become wise. And, in order to become wise, what that requires is innocence. And that's definitely one of the virtues that I hold very near and dear to my heart because of what I experienced as a child. Always being able to come back to my innocence, and always being able to show and lead others and help them to reclaim their own innocence. And what I mean by that is, the mind and the heart of a child that still believes in magic, that still believes in miracles, that still is willing to look like a fool, that still believes that anything is possible. Because the truth is, children are closest to God because they come straight from God. They're coming from that pure place. And it's only through our time here on earth, the trials and the tribulations, the gravity, the weight, the pressure, the failures, the challenges, that there's this sense that we lose that. We forget that. And that's, a lot of people talk about this amnesia, meaning that, like we come in onto this material plane forgetting who we really are. And so, for me, that is one of the, I would say for sure, the virtues and tenets that I stand for in my business is reclaiming that innocence and that relationship with soul, that relationship with your highest self, because I believe that we are here to bring heaven to earth. We are here to create miracles. We are here to be creators, which is why I'm so passionate about working with creatives, artists, visionaries, entrepreneurs, because I believe that it is these people that actually have the power to influence culture and society. And right now, that's something that's really needed in our world. We're going through a huge metamorphosis, and as our world is crumbling, we need to have new things being built. There's a lot of new structures and new ideologies and new concepts and new methodologies that bring more freedom and less limitation and less manipulation. These structures that are crumbling, so much of the reason why they're crumbling is because they're rooted in power, control, and greed. And so as these systems are crumbling, in the meantime, we're in this gap, right, where we still need the new to be created. And so that takes a lot of creative energy, obviously, right, to build something, to have a vision, and to not have a template, right, like to to not know what's coming next, but trusting the joy and the passion and the desire inside of your heart, and having the courage to make that manifest and make that real is is what is required right now, and it is what is going to lead us into this next age. So something that I feel really lends to that, and what I'm also passionate about, is when I was really a lot more focused in one-on-one work, as a physician, one of my specialty was fertility, and working with fertility, which is creativity. You're creating a new life. It's the same thing. So I take a lot of that lens and that perspective towards looking at my client's life and seeing where they are perhaps struggling or challenged or blocked, or they're not going as big as they could go, or they're self-sabotaging in the creative process, in them creating the life that they deeply desire. Hey, Jen. So, I just posted something very recently about, it's a meme, and it talks about how, it's not so much that there's obstacles in our way, but it's so much easier to take a path and walk down a path that's already been walked, right? Than it is to go down to create your own path where there is like no way of like, well, I don't know how to do this, right? Like if you've never done it before, right, it means you actually have to you have to forge your own path. And that is what the Age of Aquarius is about. That's where we're at now. This is why I'm saying that, because all of these systems are crumbling, there is it's like, imagine when you like on a house, like if you're building a house and like the house gets demolition, like there's a demolition of the house or a building. It's like, okay, there's no house now. Now what do? Well, you have to have a template. You need to have a blueprint. You need to know and have a vision of what it is that you're going to build and what you're going to create in order to create it. And so what humanity is facing right now is that we're in this interim phase where it's like there's all of this crumbling happening. Our financial systems are crumbling, our educational institutions are crumbling, food institutions and governments and farming things are crumbling, being bought up. Religious systems are crumbling. What else did I say? Government, all of these systems are crumbling. And so, but as it's crumbling, it's like, okay, well, but we need structure. You need to have structure. There needs to be a foundation, because you can't really, if you want to aspire to something greater, so that's exactly the kind of like what's a type of glitch happening, in our world as the matrix, okay, is starting to dismantle and crumble. It's not about totally not having a matrix. You want to have a matrix, right? It's like you need to have, like, we have skin for a reason. Our skin is our boundary and our borders that keeps everything that we value and what's precious and important to us inside. It's like we need a house because it keeps us safe and safe from the elements, right? So you can't just like burn, there needs to be something built. But in order to build, you have to have the courage to create something new. And so actually, let me pull up the meme that I had posted, because this is something that I have a lot of expertise in, and I would say that this is definitely when I work with my clients, it's one of the things that they tell me, and that I spot is what they're doing, and how I lead them out of that is, it says, we're kept from our goals, not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal. So I'm going to read that again. We're kept from our goals, not by our obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal. So another way of saying that is, so many people, because, it's scary. It's scary to do that thing that is really the true dream and the desire inside of your heart, but you don't know how to do it. And meaning because maybe nobody in your family did it and succeeded. So you have like no framework or reference. It's almost like you don't think that it's possible for you. And actually that is quite the case, is a lot of people, they don't really go after their big dreams, goals, ambitions, because on some level, either they don't think that they're worthy of it, or they have no belief that it's actually truly possible. Like it's this thing of like, well, that's only for like millionaires and rock stars and famous people. And what they fail to understand is that they're just like you. They're not any different than you. I mean, there are differences, but meaning at the end of the day, we're all human and we all have a choice and we all have a higher power, our highest self, our soul within us that we can tap into at any time. That is always, always, always leading and guiding us to our destiny, to our highest destiny. But what tends to happen is there's a clear path, that's already been laid, that doesn't require us to go on the unknown, to forge the new path. And so, what I had written to that is the definition of self-sabotage is anything other than your first and highest choice is an act of self-sabotage. And so the way that this showed up for me was, I had a singing scholarship to the University of Miami. And even though I had a singing scholarship, so even that financial piece was in play, but there was a housing situation that I was a gap financially. And there was also a lot of fears around my voice. I had a lot of stories around, the starving artist. And, I had, my uncle was the only artist in my family who was going to Yale, but he wasn't at that time financially successful. And so for me, my reference point was, artists don't make it. And for me, that financial piece was very, and still is, very important. I want to make a lot of money. I've always known, and it's interesting, I had a lot of shit with money that I still am and had to clear up because I come from a family of state senators. My uncle was a state senator, attorneys, but the experience that I had with that side of my family was not of provision. That wasn't the money that I experienced in that relationship was, there wasn't provision, meaning that masculine essence of men providing for women, of the father providing for his children, of the government, of authority figures, of men in general being provided, or for people that have a lot of money, sharing their wealth and the prosperity rippling into the community was not online from that vantage point, from that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, my father, who, he was a millionaire. He did it selling drugs, so he was an excellent businessman, but it was illegal. He was very generous with his money, but he went to jail for 10 years. I visited him for 10 years as a little girl, visiting my father in prison. So my perspective and what was real for me was okay, either you make a lot of money and it has to be illegal, or you make a lot of money and, so it was just at that point in time, I was just what's the point of having money? You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up doing but by a clear path to a lesser goal. It was very clear for me that I could go into, so I took a pre-med course, or not course, that was my course of studying that I went in college was pre-med. I was pre-med. And so I knew, I was so good with the body. I had been, doing healing work since I was 9 years old. With my family members and friends and hands-on healing. I could do this so easy. And I was just I can be a doctor, no problem. I could do that, and it was all paid for. In fact, I had a scholarship where I was, very well taken care of at this other school. So I chose that path. But I didn't choose what was my highest and best choice. My number one choice would have been music. So I went down what I call the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. So, and through that journey, through that rabbit hole journey, I got to learn a lot about myself. I got to learn a lot of hidden talents and gifts and develop those that I never would have developed. Maybe I wouldn't, I don't know, but I definitely developed a lot of talents and gifts from going that route. And eventually I did, and I went through a lot of things in my romantic relationship because I was denying and suppressing my secret hidden desires. And so those manifested in very twisted and very, very exaggerated, over the top, abusive, dangerous ways because I was suppressing that much of my power. And what ended up happening is the way that I, started coming back to music was my father, eventually came back into my life. At that point I had already had my son. I was pregnant with my second daughter, or my first daughter, my second child, Bridani, and my dad came back into my life. Like at this point I was like 22, 24, 26 years old. And so at this point I finally had like my dad in my life as a real father figure. And he heard me sing. And it was when he heard me sing that he was just like, what are you doing with your life, Stephanie? And he sat me down and he had this whole talk with me and he was just like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? And so I finally had felt seen by my father. And I had already been doing, like, at this point, I'd been doing a lot of work, like healing work and, psychological things and, my work with astrology. And I was getting a lot of definitely like healing was happening, but it was that piece for me, that father's imprint, that vision to being able to see myself and feeling like I finally was being seen in a way. What was being seen was my secret desire. The secret love inside of me was finally being seen. There was a huge light being shined on it. And then, he got very sick not too long after that. And I remember saying to myself, it's actually before one of the songs that I wrote, that I co-wrote, I shared, with my friend. I was just like, I have to come out with this song before he dies. Like, and he could die, like, what he was going on, he, at that time, it was like very possible that that would have happened. And so that was just like the fire underneath my ass, where it was just like, it's this or only this. Like, there is no other option. Like, I want this to happen before he dies. And so, I made that my number one priority. And I had to shift my life. I had to shift my schedule. At this time, I was a very busy, acupuncture physician. I had tons of clients that I was seeing in the witch's cottage that, you may remember, Jen, behind my house. I had very affluent, big name people in the industry that I was seeing. So I was, very busy, a mother of 3 children at that point, a wife, and a lot of different things. And, so, those are all excuses. Your brain, to keep you in your safety zone, will come up with all of the excuses. I could have very easily used the excuse of, I don't have the time, I've got 3 kids, I don't have the money, what is my husband going to think, because now I'm not, cooking and cleaning and doing all of these other things that, he's used to me doing. The thing is your brain will, because it's your brain. And this is what most people, I really want to stress this to you. This is gold, so pay attention if you're on here. And I want to see, I see some of you guys are commenting, but Natalie, hey, but it's not showing up on my phone, so I'm just gonna, I'll get to some of your comments. If you guys are leaving comments and I'm not like, I apologize if I've just been rambling about this and you guys are saying stuff and I'm not seeing anything. Hey, Natalie, hey, Jen. Okay, see, I'm getting the comments now. Let me see if sometimes what happens, I'm gonna drop you guys some gold in just a second, so just, you wanna stay on for this. Let me see, okay, wait. Sometimes the comments, I don't know why it does this. Is that it? No. No. All right, well, I have my laptop in case, so. Okay, so your brain. And what I mean by your brain is, you know, we all have this, like, a reptilian brain, you know, like the brain stem that's down here. And, you know, it's responsible for logic, you know, it's logical things, right? It's like, it's the masculine aspect of the brain. And this is what I'm speaking to right now. I'm speaking to the masculine aspect of the brain. So because your brain is you, it knows how to take you out. It knows exactly what's going to make the most logical fucking sense to you because it is you. So it's going to come up with, and you're smart. If you're in my sphere, you're smart because I work with smart people. Because that's just how I roll. So this is actually where the smarter that you are, the much easier it is to fuck yourself. And not the way that you like it. Like mind fuck yourself. Where your brain is actually your enemy. So, and it will come up with all of the excuses that make the most logical sense for you to why not to follow your heart. Because it's not safe on some level. There isn't a clear path that says, oh yeah, this is the way. I've done it before. Or, well, Johnny did it. My mom did it. So of course I know how to do it. Or, you know, my dad's a such and such. So of course I know how to do it. This is the value of why we place ourselves in, you know, why they say, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you who you are. Show me your 5 friends and the 5 people that you hang out with the most, and that's who you are. Because we are birds of a feather flock together. We learn via resonance. And this is why the law of resonance works. It's why people invest in placing themselves in high-level masterminds, or why we hire coaches, mentors, or people that have already done it before. Because the closer you are in proximity to them, the more that you, number one, see that it's possible. That you take them off of a pedestal and you realize, well, you know, they're a human just like me. They're real and having very real challenges. They've got doubts. They've got insecurities. They've got, you know, all sorts of things just like I am. That in and of itself is a huge thing that a lot of people, you know, that what happens is because of that, they don't identify as that. Because they're not seeing it in their external reality close enough. You know, so it's, for example, like Elon Musk, right? It's like we know that, oh my God, the man is the richest man on earth. So, but there's not a lot of men doing that. This is why 96% of people, the masses, 96% of people don't ever really be. It's why we have the 1%, or why we have the 5%, and we have the 96%. And one of the things that I have learned, one of the ways to to navigate against that is that there are portals of initiation, meaning that there's certain times within the year where portals open up. It's like, so imagine like there isn't that clear pathway, right? During these certain portals of initiation, and these are astrological as well as astronomical. This is based on science, not just, it's both scientific as well as magical. Science and magic are actually the same. It's why the more that you go into music, the more mathematical it becomes. And the more you take math, like to the edge, to the edge, to the edge, the more illogical it becomes. Okay? So there are these portals of initiation where it's like the natural, most fluent, it's like a super fast track highway to allow you to get to the next level. Because it's the natural unfolding and development of that. And this is, 4 different areas of life. That's like, if this is an area of life that you want to go to the next level in, or that maybe you're having lots of challenges or blocks around, if you initiate it at this time, you're gonna reap like so much. You're gonna be able to go much faster and get much better results if you do it at this time than if you were to do it at any other time. And these are things that this is stuff that's actually really, really old. This is stuff that before we had this massive power play with money, and before all of this information around our power and around our spirituality and around our gifts and our sexuality and all of these different things that, has been hidden and suppressed by, those that are in power and in control. This was just information that was, practiced by people. Hey, Farah. So these are one of the things that, so this is what I help my clients with, is this exact thing, is shining a light and really showing them where they are not living up to their highest potential, and lighting that fire under their ass and holding the path open for them. So holding it open so that they can stay connected to the vision, even when it feels like the walls are crumbling, even when it feels like the contractions and you're in the tunnel and you're in hell and you just like can't figure it out and it's taking too long and I don't know what's next. Like all of these, what happens is, either one, you're getting messed up at part 1, where you're taking the easy route and you're taking the logical, practical, responsible way because it's already been done. But here's the thing. If you're going on a path that has already been walked, it's not your path. If you're going down a path that already has a clear, thing, it's not your path. You can learn from it. You can, take the tools from it, but the thing is you have to make your own path. Otherwise, it's not you are here. There is a light in the world that only you can fill. There is a light in the world, and if you're not shining that light, how can people see you? If you're not being fully you and who you came here to be, how can your soulmate find you? How can your soulmate clients find you? How can your tribe find you if you're not even fully being you? Because you're not listening to your highest self, because you're not taking anything other than your highest choice is an act of self-sabotage. So an example of this is like I used with the school. Like my first highest choice would have been to go and study music, but I didn't. I went and I did, medicine because it was more practical, it was more responsible, it was more logical, it was more secure financially. I didn't stay on that path very long. It didn't take me very long before I met an acupuncture physician. And then once I learned about the philosophy and the whole thing, I was just like, yo, this is so way more me than that. So, I went on that path and began, always, integrating, weaving in. And it's still what I do to this day. I'm still weaving in. So it's not to say that, like, if you've already, it's like, and this is why I added to that. It's like, why forgiving yourself is so powerful. Something that I want to share with you guys that, is just, and it's why this is one of my signature programs, the Mermaid Cleanse. It's so powerful. For so many people, it's their favorite. For people that have, my Star Disco alumni that have been in the Star Disco brand, a lot of them tell me it is their favorite, is because it's just so powerful. And, being in this container, like, and I am hosting this container, like, this is something, like, I know how to do this with my hands tied. It's how I have led myself through all of the things that I've shared with you. And even now that I am in this container, there's more. There's so much more that I'm seeing about myself. And I am fully in the fucking Nile flood right now in my life, where I'm like seeing all of the ways that I still and have, that I haven't seen before, sabotaged. And forgiving myself for all of the times that I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. What you don't know about yourself. My kids quote me on this too, by the way. It's funny, my little girl, she's such a whippersnapper, Bridani, she says this to me. She's like, what you don't know about me, Mom, could fill a library. What you don't know about you and what you don't know about others could fill a library. Because you have blind spots. So in all of our, especially our romantic relationships and how we're perceiving others, about 70% of the time, you are seeing from your perspective. You're seeing based upon a program that was established by the first 7 years of your life. This is why I say also that there's so much money available to you at all times. But if you've been programmed to believe that money is hard, or money's, only for wealthy people or for good-looking people, or, money only comes through this avenue, you won't see it. You can bang your head against the wall and never be able to fucking access your own wealth because of the programs you have running. So what do you guys got to say about that? I have a couple other things that I want to talk to you about, like astro-wise, that's, things like needs to knows that you guys might be feeling right now that's coming up. If you guys don't have any comments, I'll just keep riffing. Keep rolling. Okay, let's see. Oh, I love my kiddos too. They're the bestest. They're the bestest. And I will tell you what, like, they're some of my best mirrors, man. Some of my best fucking mirrors. I love, seeing myself in the light and the shadow in my daughters. And, this as a mother is a game changer. When you, especially like as your, even like at like the younger ages, and your kid's throwing a temper tantrum, or you can't, or they're struggling with something, or they're hurt, like all of these things, because when you free yourself, you free your children. So imagine all of the emotional baggage and the stories and the program. When you free yourself, you free your children. And so they don't have to go through that. You know, I mean, they chose you, you know, because there's definitely, you know, the lessons that they wanted to learn. So it's not like a bad thing. You know, I don't look at it as bad, but, you know, I take care of what's mine. And if I can, you know, leave behind the world better than I found it, if I can leave a legacy, if I can leave something better for my children than, you know, than what I did if I didn't do this work, like, that's why I'll do this forever, because it's forever work. I love playing in the deep waters, me too. Hey, Farah, I don't know what you're nodding your head in agreement to. If you want to let me know, I'd love to know. But if you're going down a path that's already done, it's not your path. Yeah, we're here to blaze trails. This is why I'm saying it's like, as the world is crumbling, it's up to us to be building the new culture, to be building the new society, and this is why I'm a big proponent for money, for having women be powerful and feminine wealth creation, because when you have power, financial power, what you're able to do is then you can invest in companies and in businesses and in values that you want to see more of in the world. You cannot do that if you don't have that financial power. So for example, if I want to see more organic farming, you know, happening in the world, that means that it requires me to be in a position, number one, to be able to provide that for myself, for my family, for my community, for the parties, for, and investing in it, you know, investing in those sort of companies. Like, you cannot do that if you are not financially empowered. You know, so if people are not able to free themselves, so for example, like, let's say, you know, you're only buying the best that you can afford, and let's say you really can't afford to buy organic food, what you're actually doing is you are investing in values that you don't really value. You're not investing in what you value, and so you're actually perpetuating a cycle. And I mean, you can go really deep into this. And I mean, just even the fact that I'm talking to you right now on a phone that was made, you know, in a third world country, you know, on slave labor, is just a small example. So, but whatever your position that you're at, right? Like, the more wealth that you have, the more that you're able to not do those things. But it starts here. And what you have to understand about money is money follows purpose. Money follows purpose. If you have a vision, if you have a purpose, then money comes in to support that. That's why it's one of the very things that you hear, and you'll hear from me over and over again, is, what's your big vision? What's your why? What is this money being used? What's the resonance level that your purpose, so that you can resonate that purpose and live in purpose, so that the money, you are an energetic match to that. Elon Musk wants to fucking go to Mars. You think that's a fucking cheap adventure? No. But it's the reason why he's the richest man on earth, is because his vision is so fucking big. Now, I have my own beliefs and my own opinions and all of these different things about, like, whether I think we should be on Mars. You know, like, me personally, I think that inner space progress is, you know, I think that that's something that's happening in our world. And this is actually one of the themes that's going to be coming up in this Mars retrograde that we have happening at the end. Well, the retrograde actually doesn't happen, but this saga, this whole rite of passage. So something that I want to be sharing with you guys about before I go into that is, I'm going to be starting a series here very soon where I'm going to be sharing with you guys about like breaking it down really about what my work is. You know, like what are rites of passage? What are archetypes? Why are they important? What is the hero's journey? Like all of these different things so that you can, you know, use this for yourself and start to implement these tools and these I mean, because it's fucking choose your own adventure. To put it in a nutshell, it's a choose your own adventure methodology that I've created, Stardisco. So right now, well, very soon, so expect that in the coming weeks as I'm going to be doing videos all on this. And for those of you guys that are interested in the Priestess Archetype, you know, being the intuitive, you know, that's all. The Priestess Archetype is very much, I would say, like, she's a witch archetype. If you resonate as a witch or you're into magic and witchcraft, priestesses and witches are very much simpatico, except I would say witches have the element of that they've really been in a lot darker situations. They can handle, and they've been in a lot darker situations. Not to say that priestesses don't. Priestesses do walk in between the worlds, like shamanesses, like a shaman. But what most people associate as a witch is actually a priestess. Okay? So I have a free masterclass, Origins of the High Priestess Soul Fractal, the oracular and sexual healing powers of dragons, mermaids, snakes, and sirens. And actually we got into this a little bit today in the Mermaid Cleanse. In my call today in the Mermaid Cleanse, we started talking about a little bit of the connection between the soul fractals of mermaids and dragons and how mermaids and dragons are connected. So I'll be doing a whole other, like the whole thing on the origin. So if you're interested in that masterclass, let me know in the comments. I can send you your invite. And it's going to be, I believe, next Saturday. So, all right. So coming back to what I was saying about, well, what I've been noticing in my field and in my community, you know, in my field, is this thing about like integrating your opposite. You know, or like this feeling of like you want this one thing, but you can't have it because you also want this other thing that's totally opposite. You know, it's like the polarity, like either feeling like you are too polarizing for people, you know, people love you and then they hate you, you know, or they love this thing about you and then they hate this thing about you. Okay, you got to tell me what you're laughing about. I wish my phone was like, so I could see the comments on my phone. I love that so much better. But you have to tell me what you're laughing about. Hold on, let me get my phone charger. Just give me a second, babes. All right, what is so hilarious? You gotta tell me now. What is so funny? How can I figured this out on my phone before, where I was like, I figured out how to get the comments on my phone. I think, is that it? No. No. So weird. Was that it? No. Was it that? No. Oh, snap. Hold on, guys. No, that was not it. Wasn't it? How did I do it? Create a poll. I'm not trying to create a poll right now. But I want to know what were you laughing about? Let me see if I can see this on my laptop. the polarity, what I shared with you in the Mermaid Mind Spa, yeah, you're not the only person, by the way. Like yes, you totally inspired that, but I've been seeing it in a lot of places. And I'm going to tell you why. Did I share with you? I'll be sharing more about it. Limited beliefs and the agreements we carry from the past. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this thing of like paradoxes. So like, for example, like wanting to have safety, security, and stability, but then also wanting to go on an adventure, right? Like wanting to have like the new experience, but at the same time, like, but you also want to feel safe. You also want to feel secure. And by definition, those things are opposite. Like an adventure is not an adventure unless you're feeling that sense of like, I don't know what could happen, and there's thrill and there's excitement. I could fall off a cliff. I could meet the love of my life. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, it's very different from being at your house and knowing that there's a refrigerator full of food and like, you know, that your bills are paid, and like those are two very different things. When you go off in an adventure, you don't have all of those, or you don't feel like, rather, and that's the integration that needs to happen, is where the rigid thinking is, right? If you have this thought, this belief pattern that says, it's not safe for me to be on an adventure because I cannot access resources away from this, then you're not actually tapped into the fact that safety, security, and stability is something that you source within. It doesn't come from something outside of you. Let me know if you get that, if that makes sense. You know, like another example that somebody in my community was talking about, like, you know, really wanting to, you know, be famous, right? And really loves being in the public eye, but then doesn't like the fact that, you know, there's a lot of people hating on her, or, you know, that there's a lot of people that, you know, like the witch wound sort of thing, right? Like people that are jealous of her, you know? And so there's within that, you know, there's some shadowy stuff that's got to get cleaned up, some rigid thinking that says that, you know, being, you know, famous means that people are going to hate on you. Like that is not actually true. That doesn't have to happen. It sometimes does happen, but it doesn't have to happen, and it doesn't have to be a part of your story. And so this whole thing about paradoxes is happening right now because we're getting close to what's called the Mercury Cazimi. So for those of you guys that are Mercury Edition alumni, you've been with me in my Mercury retrograde programs. The Mercury Cazimi is, you know, in the alchemical Mercury retrograde cycle, at in the middle point of the Mercury retrograde cycle, there's a Mercury Cazimi, okay? But there's also a Mercury Cazimi where Mercury is on the other side. So that's what's happening right now. So where we're at right now is actually the halfway point between the last Mercury retrograde and the next Mercury retrograde. So for those of you guys who did, and I don't actually think for those of you guys who did the last Mercury retrograde, the one that was in Gemini, we are at that halfway point for whatever happened then. And so Mercury is the planet of polarity, is the planet of duality, is the planet of alchemy and integration. So this is why it's showing up in the field for people right now, because it's showing you where you need to wed your masculine and your feminine together. Because that's what the Cazimi is. It's the white king and the red queen coming together in alchemical symbolism. So in order for that to happen, this, doing shadow work and integrating this is where, okay, so what's special about this part of the Mercury is, imagine having like an angel or a guide. And I didn't even plan this, but of course, because this is just how I roll. Like, whether it is I'm being super intentional and I'm planning stuff based on astrology, or because I'm tuned into it, of course it happens. The actual date of this is happening on the free masterclass, Origins of the High Priestess, which Mercury rules over that. So anyhow, we'll go more into that anyway. Imagine having an oracle, an angel, the voice box of God or whatever, from deep, deep out in space, because it's on the other side of the sun. So in the Mercury, retrograde, what's happening is the sun is here and Earth is here, and then Mercury is here. Okay? But so it's all like coming into Earth like this, right? But what's happening now is the sun is still here, but instead of Mercury being here, Mercury's on the other side of the sun. So what's happening is Mercury is bringing in super, super galactic high frequency light codes that's being filtered through the sun and then into our atmosphere. So it's a time to really make space to receive messages, to radically realign yourself on your path if you feel like you've gotten off path, if you don't know what to do next, if you're feeling like you're a little bit lost, you're feeling disconnected. And this is going to be happening, it's happening in the sign of Cancer, so themes around, family and emotional connection and intimacy, your home, your roots, I said family already, but it's also your tribe, like your people, the sense of belonging and intimacy that you have with those nearest and dearest to your heart. You're going to receive information about that, so it might be, you might have already been experiencing recognizing that, you're leaving people behind, or feeling like, like this person isn't a part of my where I'm going, they're not supportive of me, or the witch wound stuff is really popular during this time, where it's like, feeling that other people aren't supporting you and your ambitions or your aspirations, and or maybe your other people from the past are kind of like coming back and you're like, these actually are my people, let me know if that's been showing up for any of you guys. This thing, it's so annoying. So I'm not seeing what's happening. The comments. No. Natalie says, yeah, that's been showing up for me. Yep, that's been showing up. Yep. Yeah, so the Cazimi is the halfway point between, it's the halfway point between the retrogrades. So the next one that we have coming up is going to be in the sign of Libra. So, it's always helpful when we're on a journey, when you take this, and this is, like I said, this is my brand, like a big part of the Star Disco brand anyway, right, is it's like choose your own adventure, and really going on that heroine's journey or that hero's journey in different areas of your life. And so when you're on a journey, right, like what you want to do is to be able to orientate yourself to where it is that you're going. You want to know where you came from, where am I at now? And that helps you navigate your trajectory to know where you're going. Because if you can't really identify where you've been and where you are, you know, it's like that, it's like the arrow, right? It's like, it's really hard to aim and to really have a clear sense of where you're going. So think about like the last, Mercury retrograde, right, was in the sign of Gemini, and then this Cazimi is in the sign of Cancer, and then the place that you're going to next is going to be in Libra, which is about relationships, and it's about harmony and balance and beauty and social justice and culture. So I would look at those houses. Where do you have those houses as well? So that's happening right now. And we have Mars that is in Taurus, and I already, riffed upon this in that What the Fuck is Star Disco masterclass, where I was talking about towards the end of the month, August 1st, July 29th, we're going to have that crazy, crazy fucking epic Mars, Uranus, North Node trifecta, which is just like, and I'm telling you, like I'm telling you, like I'm telling you, like I'm telling you. You don't have something planned for that, something big for that, or that you're really working towards that, chances are, it might be something very radically destabilizing and chaotic because you're already not living up to your highest potential. And you'll hear me say this over and over again in the Star Disco brand and in my world. You do the planets or the planets will do you. So I know Natalie, congratulations, is going to be performing her pole dancing. I would love for you to, you could, you said that your tickets are sold out. So these are tickets to go and watch live, right? They're already all sold out. So Natalie has this amazing pole dancing competition that she's going to be doing in San Diego on that day. I know Lauren, has also an amazing ceremony lined up. Do you guys have any plans for that? I'm curious, let me know. August 1st, July 29th, around that time. Because if you don't, you still got time now to start thinking about what's something, really epic that I could be building towards. If you want to know a little bit more about that, I will reference you to go back and watch the What the Fuck is Star Disco masterclass. I'm not going to riff on all of that right now. But in short, it's Mars is about ambition. Mars is about passion. It's also about men. It's the bridge builder. So in Uranus, this is like something freak flag. Like, how can you really like put yourself out there, do something really like avant-garde, original, high voltage, and it's a checkpoint, actually. And what I mean by it's a destiny checkpoint, it's a destiny portal, meaning that because it's on the North Node, which is the dragon's head. So it's like, if you want to get into radical alignment with your destiny, you have to do this Mars-Uranus piece. So, and on that note, I am very soon going to be launching my mastermind, Harlequin the Huntress, which is the essence of this program is about endings and beginnings. And, it's like the work, it's like when you realize that there's something that you need to complete. Maybe it's a way of being in relationship. Maybe it's, maybe you are on a certain path of your business. Maybe it's a way, it's ending something and the work that has to get done in order to actually begin the new. So many times what I see happens with people is that, they get themselves into this place where they're like, how come it isn't happening? Like, I decided, it's like, or maybe like you want to get back into the market, right? Like maybe you were in a relationship and then, You're just like, oh, like I'm back out on the market, right? Like I'm on the prowl, right? And it's like, but I'm not attracting the men, like the level of men that I want, right? Or I'm not being valued how I want to be valued, either by clients. I see this happen a lot in business. You know, if you tend to attract, you know, people in your business that say they can't afford you, you know, or men that you feel like aren't actually valuing you how you want to be valued, you know, or you're wanting to get results with your body and you're like, how come it's not happening? Like I've been working really hard. And it's because you have there's an energetic lag. There's an energetic lag as well as a value lag. So, and that's in the way of you, just because if that wasn't in the way, you could just decide and rise and then it would happen. So you have to be able to do this part, right? And because this has to do with Mars, this has to do with your energy, like how much energy in your light body you are actually able to hold, your relationship to men, your friendships, because it's in the sign of Gemini. And it's a lot about how you process through information, you know, like how quickly are you able to learn and unlearn things? Or is it really hard for you because you are really stubborn? If you're really stubborn and it's hard for you to, like, you know, change your mind or, you know, let go, you know, be spontaneous, this is probably for you. And I say that because I get it, right? I can resonate with those qualities. So this is overall, you know, a lot of times the Mars retrograde cycle can be very challenging for people. But the essence of this is feeling like, if you've been feeling like you've been holding back, you know, and you've been suppressed or limited, and this is like being like a tigress released out of the cage, like totally self-expressed, totally in her power. It's Harlequin the Huntress. You know, I'm working a lot with these two archetypes, Harlequin, which is like the sacred clown, the fool archetype, as well as the Huntress. So this is a mastermind that it's an 8-month, so this is an 8-month thing that's going to be happening, this rite of passage. This is a long time for a planet such as Mars to be in one sign. So whether or not you participate in this mastermind or not, like, there is work to be done around this. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You know, you're a free sovereign soul. You do whatever the fuck you want. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know the terrain ahead, and you adjust accordingly. Adjust accordingly, and this isn't about, like, it's like you can do some epic shit with this, right? It's like recognizing, yes, it's going to be challenging, and epic rewards on the other side. So this mastermind, I am in pre-sale. You know, I haven't really been, like, I've been releasing things here and there, haven't even released the branding or anything like that, which I may not even do. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, because I had some, like, really cool graphics that I had made, and then I was just like, no. Like, I got this whole download. I'm like, no, this is something else. Like, this is so fucking something else. And so I'm like, I'm going to need new visuals. I need new, like, da-da-da-da. And so that has been, like, you know, I'm waiting on that. So, but I really love masterminds, and I've really been realizing that the way that I work best with people and the way that, like, my people get the best results is when they work with me for longer periods of time. You know, like a minimum of 90 days. Because 90 days is actually the minimum requirement to create a new lifestyle pattern. You know, at 30 days, you're just starting to scratch the surface of creating a new neural pathway, meaning where you're changing your thoughts and your beliefs. But it's only at 90 days that you're really starting to cement that into, this is a way of life for me, this is just who I am. And so what a lot of people, will do is they do something for, a month, and then they get a little bit of results, and then they're like, oh, well, how come things aren't really popping and moving and slaying and blah, 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 blah. And it's because they went all in for that short period of time, right? But then they didn't stay all in, and they didn't keep going. And so, more and more, I'm going to be really, that's the direction that I'm heading with my business is, really supporting working with clients that's what they want, meaning ambitious, high achieving, performance clients, because that is the level that I desire to be met, because that's how I roll, and that's what I want, that's what I love, and that's where I get the best results. So that's where clients get the best results. So anyhow, this is a mastermind. I have like I said, it's in pre-sale right now, and you also get 2 bonuses. So so the mastermind is a 3-month minimum commitment. The whole thing is going to be happening for 8 months. So you can opt in for 3 months, and then you can come back at a month at a time if you want to throughout the whole program. If you sign up now for the pre-sale, you get the 3 months, right? You get the option of coming back for a month at a time. And then the bonus is you get 2 Mercury retrograde editions of Star Disco included. So you get 2 programs included in the mastermind, which is like, it's beyond, like it's beyond. If you've ever been in any of my programs, you know how it is, the value that I bring, what it feels like. Imagine getting 2 of those. And this is because the ruler of Mars is in Mars is in Gemini. So the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. So Mercury is very much tied into this, which is why I'm choosing to integrate the Mercury retrograde cycle as a part of the Mars retrograde cycle. And on the Kabbalah Tree of Life, I was sharing this with somebody on the other live stream that I did about, the avant-garde business, and why Mars is very much about business and Mercury is also about business, is on the Kabbalah Tree of Life. I'll show you guys a picture like this real quick. This is what it looks like. So the Tree of Life in Kabbalah is it's like a picture of the universe, how the universe works, okay? And these different circles represent, these are the Sephiro, these are the spheres, okay? And they're each ruled by a planet. Okay, so over here on this side, this is Mars and this is Mercury. Okay, represents a more masculine, and this is the more feminine pole. Okay, so this masculine pole, so it's actually, and Mercury is all about commerce. It's all about sales, buying and selling things. Mercury is about communication. It's the rainbow bridge. It's the ruler of Gemini and Virgo. And it's about, math and magic and science and the Hermetic laws, alchemy. So what actually fuels where Mercury gets all of its power from, like up here. So if up here is like, this is like the quantum, it is the vast all, right? It's the purest, the highest source. And down here is us. This is where we live, which is Malkuth, which is called the kingdom. So up here is the crown, which is Keter, and down here is Malkuth, which is the kingdom. So what we're always trying to do, right, is we're always wanting to close the gap. between the crown and the kingdom, meaning the vision. The crown is the highest vision of your expanded consciousness, right? And so what we're wanting to do, right, is we want to bring that down to earth. So in order to, so what the Kabbalah allows for you to do is it's a map. It's so you can, you know where you're at traveling through, right? And if there's a blockage or there's a distortion in one of those pathways or in one of those planets, you got to clean that up. Otherwise, it's not open. You can't travel. There's no, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where we get stuck and, like, stuff starts to get fucked up. And it's like, how come, you know what I mean? So it's, you know, we want all of these things to be operating well, right? Because, and these also correspond to archetypes. So Mercury is right here. And this is Mars. So Mercury is actually fueled by Mars. So if you want to do Mercury things well, you better have the faucet open from Mars. So they work together. This is why business, you know, is traditionally a very masculine thing. It's also why, you know, women that are in business, what I have found, tend to have a lot of masculine energy that, you know, they're not fulfilled just being a mother or being a wife. Like, they want to express themselves out in the world dynamically because they have more Mars energy. So that's a lot of times how in women Mars energy expresses itself, either as Eros, creative energy, sexual energy, or in business. So this is what this is for, this mastermind. If those are any of your healing your relationship to men, business expansion, self-expression, that's what this mastermind is all about. And so it's one of my, and it's, you know, I feel like in this day and age, there's so much healing that women, like so many women, like they do their work, right, around their feminine energy and do their shadow dancing and they work with their moon and learning about the moon cycles. But when it comes to the father wound, right, or healing their relationship to men with provision and provider, protector energy, that's something that isn't online for a lot of women. And it hasn't been for thousands of years because look at the government. The government represents a very masculine, you know, help me out with the word, authority figure. And look at how it suppresses the masses. So on a mass global level for thousands and thousands of years, the feminine associates masculine energy with control, domination, and slavery. And that exists inside of your body. The systems that are crumbling, that's what's crumbling inside of women. So, but that new erect masculine pillar of light needs to be re-edified. The pole, as I always say, and as Natalie, you know, we joke about because she's a pole dancer, and that's what it is. It's the masculine pole. So that has to get, the distortions have got to get cleared up. Resentment, bitterness, rage, you know, just feeling that men don't support you, all of these stories and things, that's all something that this Mars retrograde is going to be bringing up. And on the other side of it, right, like that's what you get is those things expressed in a very healthy way in the sign of Gemini. So let me give you some examples of some people with that placement, with like very, I would say, like they did that well. Mars and Gemini. I'll give you a feminine and a masculine version so that you can see. And there's some of, and it's so funny because they're like some of my very favorite, like I would say, like people that I would read their bio and that I thought, you know what I mean? Well, actually one of them's dead, but Okay, so one of them is Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I'm keeping my eye out on him. Like, I'm like, especially because it's a Gemini and Sagittarius is a very political thing. So there's a lot of political heating up things that's also going to be happening during this cycle. I'm not going to get into that here. But because he is a politician, it's like, I'm curious to see what he does, what comes alive, what happens, in his world. The other person that is a woman is Coco Chanel. She's also one of my favorite people. I just love, I mean, she was total revolutionary for her time. And I mean, like, she made it fashionable to wear men's clothing for women, like she invented the pantsuit, which is very Gemini thing. It's like the balance of masculine and feminine. Like, so if you're wanting to harmonize and bring more balance into your life, that's also what this is, like really being able to have a healthy and fluid expression of your masculine and feminine energy, and polarity in your relationships. That's what this is about. So I'm wondering if I should share this next thing because, I'm going to wait because it's not like I haven't gotten like the solid green light around it. So just wait on that. But I have, like I said, like I've got some things up my sleeve that are just like, that I'm like holding. And it's all a part of, what we're going to be doing, as a part of Harlequin the Huntress. So, but I'm not going to share that right now. I'm going to hold that back. So if you're interested in snagging the pre-sale, reach out to me. The pricing on this it's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer, like a no-brainer. I will be sharing more about this in the coming days, sharing you guys like testimonials, my story of how I have led myself through my relationship, changing my relationship. I mean, I already shared quite a bit of it with you with my dad, and how that was, hello, Kelly, how that was the beginning of it. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in. Oh, and there's also, I'm doing a pre-sale on if you don't want to do the Mars retrograde, but you want to do the Mercury retrograde. I'm doing a pre-sale on those as well. So I'll say that again. So if you're not interested in the Mars, in Harlequin the Huntress, the Mastermind, but you want to do the Mercury edition of Star Disco, which is the Mercury retrograde, I'm doing pre-sale on both of those. So there's one that's in Libra, and then the next one is going to be in Capricorn. And so what you're going to get about, number one, you get to save money. So if you like saving money and you like planning ahead, right? So you're like, I want to work with you, but I'm not ready quite yet, but you know that you want to work with me in the future. This is a great way to kill two birds with one stone, save some money, and have plenty of time to be, planning ahead. You can either do, because the Mars, we're not starting the Harlequin the Huntress begins August 20th. That's the first day. And the retrograde, the Mercury retrograde happens shortly after that. And then, so August, September. And then the next one's going to be in December. So, if you have questions about that, reach out to me. But I think that's it. That's what I really wanted to share with you guys. Gosh, there's so many things. I could talk about this for days, but I'm going to wait. We're going to talk about this in another live stream. And like I said, like, I'm going to be coming on here a little bit more frequently, sharing with you guys, breaking down like what really are archetypes, what is a rite of passage, how does this tie in with astrology, with Kabbalah, with role play, how can I use this practically in my life? Who are the types of, I kind of went through all of those things, but I'll be breaking it down more like condensed in the next coming days. But yeah, keep your eye out, for those next, what did I say? Next Saturday is when the Mercury Cazimi is going to be. You know, if you want to schedule times to just really like set aside a time to be in the space to receive those messages. Maybe, maybe go out in nature, maybe, take the weekend off because it's going to be on the weekend. It's on a Saturday. You're welcome. So that you can receive those divine downloads, those messages. And then also you want to be looking ahead to January, or what was it? What did I say? July 29th and August 1st. So, and then shortly after that, I'll be doing the Essence of Six Redux right after that in the next few days, which is, that's basically a strategy session for the second half of the year where you have my eyes on your chart. So Natalie, you're in there. Remember, I have your chart, but I'll be posting more things in that very soon. You're going to need to bring your chart to that class. We're going to be looking at your numerology. And so I will be looking at your chart and then doing a strategy session for the second half of the year, as well as going into the astrology, the magical, as well as, I guess, mundane astrology for the second half of 2022. So if you're interested about that, I'll place all of these links here in the comments section, or in the notes here. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Bye.